Hello and welcome to this tutorial on how to use the exposure triangle to improve your photography. The exposure triangle consists of three elements: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Each of these elements affects the amount of light that enters your camera and, therefore, the final exposure of your photograph. Aperture refers to the size of the opening in your camera's lens. A wider aperture, lower f-number, allows more light to enter your camera, which can create a shallower depth of field and a blurred background. Shutter speed refers to the length of time your camera shutter is open. A longer shutter speed allows more light to enter your camera, but can also create motion blur if the subject or camera moves during the exposure. ISO refers to the sensitivity of your camera's sensor to light. A higher ISO allows you to shoot in low light situations, but can also introduce digital noise or grain in your image. To use the exposure triangle effectively, you'll need to balance these three elements to achieve the desired exposure for your photo. For example, if you're shooting in low light conditions, you may need to use a wider aperture and higher ISO, while also adjusting your shutter speed to prevent motion blur. By understanding and mastering the exposure triangle, you can take more control over your photography and create stunning images. So, go out there and start experimenting with different settings to see how they affect your final image. Mastering the exposure triangle involves finding the right balance between these three elements to achieve the desired exposure.